last time we went over priming for squatting, we mainly focused on the lower body and form for squatting, and exercise that you can do to learn the squat and to also get your body ready to squat. But let's go over some upper body exercises that you can do to prime your squat, because that's just as important, especially if you're doing like back squats, front squats, if you're holding any kind of weight while you're doing squats. And even if you're not, like, just holding good posture is something that needs to be trained. A lot of us walk around and we have this, like, upper cross syndrome, right? Where our shoulders are rounded forward, like hunchback basically. And trying to squat like that is going to definitely add back pain, especially once you add some resistance to it. So what we want to try to do when we're squatting is keep our backs neutral, a nice neutral spine, where we're not like overextending the spine and we're not like having that round hunchback, but we're nice and neutral. So upper body exercises to prime for the squats are going to help put your spine into alignment, your shoulders into alignment. And so a lot of these are going to, working specifically to correct that forward rounded shoulder kind of thing. So I like to use a TheraBand or any kind of resistance band. Wow, thank you for that follow. And the first exercise that I like to do with the TheraBand or with the resistance band is like bent arm pull aparts. So I take the band across the hands here and hold with the palms facing up. And we're pulling the band apart, keeping the elbows in close. And our goal here is to just rotate through the shoulder, to stretch out the front of the shoulder, but also to fire up those external shoulder rotator muscles. This is a really good exercise to do if you tend to have your shoulders rounded forward, but also, a lot of people, one of the most common injuries in the gym or just in life is torn rotator cuff. And that can happen when we don't strengthen our external shoulder rotators enough and we don't stretch out the internal shoulder rotators enough. Performing external shoulder rotation with a band is a great way to train that. I also have people do this exercise with the mini band. So if you have a loop band like this, you'll take it, place it around your hands, palms facing up, keep the elbows in nice and tight, and you're just gonna pull apart. And specifically what we're trying to do is feel it. You might feel it in your lateral delts. That's totally fine because it is abduction. But our goal here is we want to feel the external shoulder rotator muscles. It's a group of muscles. They're all in here, right? And so we want to practice engaging those, the back of the shoulder, and firing those up. You want just enough resistance to feel it. Yeah, because especially if you're using this exercise for priming, you don't want to go with too heavy of a band. And honestly, you can do it without a band and it will still get you, it will still get those muscles fired up. You can still feel the burn. You do this exercise, no band at all, just kind of stand here like this or sit and just drive your thumbs back, palms facing up. This is a great exercise to do throughout the day if you tend to have, forward rounded shoulders, especially if it leads to back pain and neck pain for you. The same motion with no band at all is great for retraining your posture. Okay, so that's external shoulder rotation. You can do it with a super band as well. Any band will do. So super band, you just grab somewhere in the middle, right there. Yeah, I really like this exercise and I put it in almost all of my training plans because, external shoulder rotation is just something that we're all weak in, just by the nature of how we sit all day in modern life. And so doing something to open up the chest, open up the front of the shoulders, and to strengthen those muscles back there, the external shoulder rotator muscles, is so key. Yeah, you may experience this, like where you're not able to feel those muscles engaging when you're doing this exercise at first. That's totally normal. It's likely that you don't have good mind-muscle connection to those muscles if you've never done anything like this before. And that was certainly the case with one of my clients that I had, who had this really bad, case of her shoulders rounded forward. And the problem with that is it puts your shoulders out of alignment, and that can cause lots of pain when you add lifting or any kind of exercise when you're holding your body out of alignment. For her, it was expressing itself in elbow pain as well as in all the way down to her wrist because, she was lifting with her shoulders rounded forward. So, it took me a while of having her consistently do exercises to fire up those external shoulder rotator muscles, infraspinatus, teres minor, teres major, supraspinatus, these are all your rotator cuff muscles. And you need to have good connection with them to, correct that bad posture. Otherwise, you put yourself at risk of injury or just inflammation from putting stress on your muscles and on your joints from just being out of alignment. But it took her a couple of weeks of doing this to actually get to the point where she could actually feel those muscles. And that's our goal here. We want to get you to the point where you can connect with those muscles and you can feel them and fire them up at will, right? So doing this as a priming exercise before you're going to squat or bench or deadlift or do whatever helps remind yourself, oh, that's how it feels like to fire those muscles up. That way, when you're like stepping up to the bar and you want to like get your muscles in, get your shoulders back, you can fire them up because you just reconnected with them at the beginning of the workout. So that's why this kind of exercise is important. You needed a little bit more resistance for them, so you looped your band. Yeah, you can add more resistance if you need to like feel that rotation. You can add a higher resistance band. You can double up your band. And once you get good at actually connecting with those muscles, you can fire them up just mentally by pretending like you have a really heavy band. And you can fire them up at will. And that's what our goal is. So the up and overs, the TheraBand is my favorite band to use for this, but you can also use a super band and you can use a mini band. I find the TheraBand the easiest. I do want to like put a caveat here. With up and overs, with any of these stretches, only go as far as your flexibility allows, okay? Don't push past your point of flexibility to where you feel pain, especially when we're just priming and we're getting ready to work out. Your goal is, we're not working to flexibility here. Our goal is to loosen the muscles up. So you only go as far back into the stretch until you feel the muscle stretching, and then you stop, right? And then you come back. So with the whole dynamic stretches, we're not trying to push your flexibility. This is not static stretches, it's not flexibility work. Our goal here is to just loosen up our muscles, bring some blood flow there, and connect to the muscles. And I say this because this stretch is really great if you have tight shoulders and you have forward rotated shoulders, but it can be really bad if you overstretch, if you over push yourself past like what your flexibility allows. So we're gonna stand or sit, you can do it standing or seated, and we're essentially gonna start with our hands already kind of outside our hips with a little bit of tension in the band, and you're gonna bring the band up and a little bit back behind your head. And we just go a little bit past the head to the point where, and we're pushing our chest forward. Pushing the chest forward and pulling the band apart a little bit back behind our head, and then bring it back down. So we come up, push the chest forward, only bring the elbows back until you feel that stretch activate, and then come back down. From the side, it looks like this. So even I have really good flexibility in my shoulders. I'm not going all the way down. I'm just going back and pushing my chest forward enough to feel that stretch activate in my chest and the front of my shoulders. I'm also pulling the band apart as I push my chest forward. And I'm only holding it for a couple of seconds. I'll go back to the front. And as you're doing this, it's really important to keep your shoulders down away from your ears. We're not trying to have them creep up, right? And you do want your shoulders to be warm before you do this. So if you're feeling like tightness in your shoulders, or if you're feeling pain, just skip this exercise for now and do something else to warm up your shoulders, okay? So you can also do the up and overs with a mini band. Okay, you're just gonna hold it with your hands on the inside, bring it up and back down. And with the dynamic stretches, it's kind of like with your resistance training. Doing multiple sets, not just one, but 2, 3, 4, etc., is really good for getting the muscles to loosen up more. In the second round, I can already tell my pec is starting to loosen up. The front of my shoulder is loosening up a lot more, and so it's probably going to look different. If I go back to the TheraBand, I'm probably gonna, I just feel a lot looser the second time. So I like to do these multiple rounds. So I'm gonna actually double up the band, give myself a little bit more resistance. So you might be able to notice that I'm a lot looser now. With the super band, it's the same thing. I would recommend doubling it up though, so it's not whacking you in the face. Just grab it across here. Start with a little bit of resistance at the bottom. Same exercise, come up and back down. Whew. Now my shoulder's feeling nice and loose, and my pecs too, especially on my right side. Another really important priming exercise that I have my clients do all the time, and I do for myself, is rows. And it's similar to why we do, you know, the stretches with like the up and overs and the, what else did we do today? Oh, the external shoulder rotation. You know, the whole point here is we're trying to engage the back, draw the shoulders back, and put your body back in alignment. And so what our lats are responsible for, they do a lot. They pull your arms in towards your body from the front and from the side and in between. They're a big muscle. They cover a lot of the back. They insert in your mid back, and then they insert also underneath your armpits. But when we work them, when we engage them, the opposing muscle group for them is a lot of times going to be the front of the shoulder and the chest. So working the opposing muscle group will help us to more effectively stretch the muscle group that is tight. So that's the whole point of a lot of these exercises, where we are working to fire up and strengthen different muscles in the back in order to facilitate and dynamically stretch the muscles in the front that are tight, right? So you can do rows one of two ways. One is you can anchor the band for yourself with your arms straight out in front of you. The other is that you can wrap the band around something. You can wrap the band around something, like if you have a door handle or something like that. Just be careful that you're not going to be like accidentally opening the door and, I don't know, like whacking yourself in the face. So essentially that's the movement of a row. A row is you're pulling towards you, engaging the lats and pulling towards the center line of your body. So if you have it anchored, you can do both hands at the same time. You want to stand nice and tall, drive your elbows back while you're squeezing your armpits. Squeezing your armpits is going to allow you to more actively engage the lats and take the work out of the back of your shoulders, because right now we are trying to connect with the lats. As you pull your elbows back, you also want to push your chest forward. That's going to help you to maximally engage those lats. And as you do this, you should start to feel the muscles here, like in your mid-back and underneath your armpits, start to get warm. And you may also feel a little stretch in the front of your shoulders, and that is our goal. Or we can just anchor it with our own hands. So you can take the band right out in front of you, just like this. Grab somewhere on the other side closer to you, and you're going to hold this straight arm out and then draw your elbow back. So we're just doing to one side. So this is the exact same thing. You're engaging your lats and stretching out the front of your shoulders. And then you want to do to both sides, because doing to one side and then skipping the other is not good. So to switch, you just switch hands, take your arm straight out in front of you, grab somewhere, and draw the elbow straight back. Now, notice that as soon as my elbow stops, my hand stops. We're not trying to like pull it down, right? Just draw the elbow back and your hand and your wrist stay neutral. Okay, so to do the single arm rows with a mini band, you're going to take one end of the band in your arm or in your hand on one side, and you're going to extend that arm straight forward, keeping the elbow straight, and then you're going to grab the other side with your other hand. We want to keep this anchor arm nice and straight, pushing it forward, like punching forward, and then we drive the elbow back. squeezing the armpit. So go back and forth, and our hand stops when our elbow stops. All right, and then other side. You feel better already sitting up now? Yay! See, just like a little, see, the thing is, everybody shits on mobility training. Everybody shits on dynamic stretches. But then, like, you guys do them and you're like, thanks, Jade. I do feel a little bit better now. I fucking told you. I fucking told you.